If you're out there listening to me and you are a victim of black tax, you need to go to those people that are taxing you and tell them, look, this is what I want to do with my money. I can help you. Have boundaries, set them. It's going to be painful. People are going to hate you for that. But if you're not going to have boundaries, you're going to be miserable. And I know that there are people out there who are being black taxed, and all of you, none of you is happy. So you need to decide to be happy, and you need to draw boundaries.
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My name is Cathy Malejane. I like to tell people that I am #CuriousCath because you know what? I always have so very many questions. I want to take this time to send a huge shout out to you, the MHF podcast listener or the Moving Humanity Forward podcast listener and viewer. We love, love, love your feedback. We love your comments. And this is episode 30. We thought it very fitting to bring in studio somebody to talk to us about parenting. Okay, that is the topic. But let me tell you the various hats that our guest wears. Okay, now our guest today is somebody who is a feminist. She is a gender activist. She is a child's rights activist. She's a mental health activist. She is an educator. She is a writer. She is an editor, and she is also a tutor. Okay, very, very many hats. But today we're really touching on the issue of parenting. I have in studio with me this afternoon Mmaotho Segotso. Let me take this time to welcome you to Moving Humanity Forward podcast, Mmaotho.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your listeners.
We're excited to have you, and I think the issue that really had us bring you to the studio is that parenting is such a big issue in Botswana. I think our society is really struggling because there seems to be a crisis. We are not parenting our children well, but I want to believe a lot of that is because we haven't even parented our inner child, but that's a conversation for another day. But I want to maybe just put it to you first to say, is there a crisis? Should we be panicking, or is all just really good and well?
We have a reason to be worried as a nation, because the signs are all there. When you look at societal decadence, it's just crime, GBV, drug and substance abuse, how kids perform badly at school, how people relate to each other. It just speaks to a society that is just at war with itself. And at the core of every society is the family. And there in the family, we are talking parenting, we're talking raising kids, we're talking raising a society. So yeah, we have a reason to be worried.
One of my favorite contributors on radio goes by the name Elsie Alexandra. And one of the things she has spoken about continuously and consistently is the fact that the family is so important. And once we see the breakdown of the family structure, it kind of tends to lead to all sorts of breakdowns in the economy, in politics, and just every other aspect of our society. But let's look at what's going on. Is there a gap between parents and children?
There is a gap. There always was a gap
Okay.
between parents and children. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was saying to me, we might think that there's a problem right now, but the difference is this, that now things are out in the open with the advent of communication, knowledge, people knowing they can talk, kids knowing they can express themselves, kids knowing they can say no, kids knowing when they have problems, they can go out there, and we see behaviors being manifested. You can speak of a gap being present, but even with our parents, even with our grandparents, there always was a gap. The only difference right now is that people now have voices.
Okay, so that gap's always been there. We're just kind of seeing it more
now. Yeah.
in this day and age. But one thing that I wonder about, and I wonder if that was always the case, has to do with the boy child. To say we've really seen demonstrations of empowerment for girls. We've seen a lot of movements speak to, the STEM for girls, ICT for girls, girl empowerment. Are we not leaving the boy child behind? Are we not, in a way, perpetuating the issues that we have because we're really just not doing that much for the boy child? So we have an empowered girl child and a disempowered boy child. We're creating a mismatch.
We actually are. We actually have been. We actually are responsible for what is happening to the boy child. In carrying the girl child, putting them on the lap, we put the boy child at the feet. At the feet where we kick the child out there. When a boy child cries, they cannot come and sit on the lap. Just getting down to the basics of parenting. I fortunately don't have mixed genders. So my boys sit on the lap. Today, my boys can cry. They know I never told them not to cry, but they are lucky because there are no mixed genders. But in families where there are mixed genders, you find that, the boy has to be strong. The boy is not empowered. Even when the boy has issues, they just keep it in and they go and tell their friends. That's when now the drugs come in. We usually talk about how did this child go out there and become this person. It starts with the child going out there and saying to their friends, I am going through this. This is what I'm going through. And the friends tell them, I can help you like that. And I in my career as a teacher, I'm going to just give an example of these boys. One, he was abused by the stepmom. The father's job entailed a lot of traveling, right? So during the trips, the stepmom got the boy to muff her and do all sorts of things and, molest the child, like, really, really graphic stuff. And then the other boy, his case was different. It was just the parents were divorcing. So he would wake up to the noise and everything. So these boys, they found each other and they found weed and they shared weed to what? To numb the pain. And then they had a friend who didn't have any issues at home. Okay, he was fine at home. But then he joined the friends in the weed to support them. He wanted to support them in their grief. And because they were doing weed, he did it with them. So, these kids in a normal society, they should have been able to talk to somebody about that. They shouldn't have had to go to weed. But the way things are, especially for the boy child, is such that nobody listens to them at all. Hatala, hey, didimala.
I want to speak. You've brought some issues up that I want to speak to, and one of those has to do just with sex and our children. Another one has to do with step parenting. Step parentega, right? But for now, let's speak a little bit to the solutions to some of the things you're talking about. You've said there are gaps between parents and their children. You said the boy child is very disempowered. We're leaving him behind. We're not catering to him. We're not giving him any attention. And just the fact that all these issues are now there. What is the way forward in terms of people know their rights? Children know their rights. Social media is showing us things. What can we do going forward just to speak to solutions to what we've touched on?
Let's start with the one of the gap.
Yes.
Okay, we need to really reconfigure how we parent. We really need to bring the boy child closer. We need to start seeing men. I once wrote on my page years back that we could have a movement of men who mentor broken boys, because there are boys who, and that's another issue that we could maybe one day talk about, the absent father syndrome, that there are boys who grow up without male role models minded. Okay. And I was saying that because the absent father syndrome breaks boys. If we could have men who are out there who are doing good in society, just coming up and saying, I'll adopt this one. And then they just come up with programs that they can do with them to empower them because if they're not getting, I didn't know how to raise boys. I didn't know how to teach boys to be men because I was raised by a woman. I was raised by my grandma. So,
and you're a woman, you're not a
and
man.
So I was never a man at any point in my life. But then I found myself raising men. How do you do that really? So that's basically what I'm saying, that there are men out there who know how to be men. Let those men identify the broken boys in our society, and let those men start a movement that can influence change, that can influence, society to look at the boy child differently. The men must do it. The fathers must do it. We women can do it, but then, I just feel that the men have really left the burden to us.
Yeah.
They should come to the party.
Yeah.
And then the second one you were saying?
About the gap between parents and children.
That's one, the first one that I was talking about, that men should, if they do that, if men come and teach boys how to be men, then boys would be able to communicate with their mothers better, because basically what is happening right now is that nobody teaches them how to communicate. But if in the movement, in what I think men should do, they teach them, this is how you express yourself, this is how you tell your mother how you're feeling, then we can have. And then also, with moms also, we just need to stop telling boys not to cry. We need to stop telling them not to communicate. We need to stop expecting them to stomach pain. Yeah.
I love that. So in terms of now, children know their rights. Social media puts everything out there. It's seeming, all these things seem to burn right up front and center stage. What are some of the ways that we can actually use that for our benefit as a nation?
Social media is good and bad. But then for the most part, we use it for the bad. I believe that, social media allows us to use it to educate, allows us to use it to give boys a platform where they can really talk about that pain. I'm going to tell you what I did when I was a teacher. When I was still working, I was a class teacher, so I had what I call boys or girls talk. So I would call girls, and then we'll talk about everything girls. I've never been a man. I don't know how to. So I'd read around issues of men and boys, and then I would go talk about boys. And you'd be surprised. I'm a woman. Okay, and they would talk to me about that. I remember the craziest one was where they were telling me that when some boys said, you know what, because they call me Mmaotho, you know what, Mmaotho, when teachers come with tight pants, I get an erection. Right? And then another one was said, Kana Mmaotho, banyana ba twinsa di paint ha pele ga rona. They were saying that girls would just come in, and na ga ba dira lo ra tsogela. You understand? So if they can say that to me, a woman, why can't we then give them platforms that can give them a voice? Because there are very few boys out there who have a voice. So social media should be used to give boys a voice. Boys get abused. Boys get raped. They don't talk. What you see manifesting in society, what you see happening every day, it's pain. And boys, I was saying to a friend the other day, actually is my sister, when we were traveling to Lerala, that, the most painful thing is that a boy can get raped, and when he goes and reports, the police would be asking him, if you were that afraid, how did you then get an erection? You understand? So these are things that really, really destroy boys. Okay, that, society isn't. So we need to use social media to empower them.
I love that. And I've been trying to find a way to offer a platform to that, to give those boys a voice. So I definitely think that is an important point to be making, and a way that we can use our social media for our good. We're going to continue this conversation, but for now, let me tell you that at HSS, we believe that every single healthcare provider deserves the tools as well as the training to deliver high quality care. No matter where they are, from Botswana to South Africa and beyond, HSS works works to develop local capacity, train instructors, as well as expand access to life-saving training programs. Together, we're creating a stronger chain of survival and a healthier future for all. What you can do is discover more at healthcaresystems.co.bw. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Claro from Healthcare System Solutions. And today I want to talk to you about something simple, practical, and powerful. A cardiac emergency response plan, or a SAP. You might be asking, what's that? Simply put, this is a plan that prepares your school, your workplace, your church, your sports facility to quickly and confidently respond when someone suddenly collapses, whether it's from a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, stroke, or any other medical emergency that can happen outside a hospital. Let's be honest, most places are not ready. Someone collapses, panic sets in. People freeze. And by the time EMS arrives, it's often too late. But what if that school teacher, that student, that security guard at the gate, that receptionist knew exactly what to do? That's what SAP makes possible. It transforms confusion into calm, delay into action, and fear into confidence. Whether it's that 12-year-old child at school, that colleague at work, that fellow worshiper at church, every second counts. And SAP gives your people the power to respond. At Healthcare System Solutions, we help design and implement cardiac emergency response plans in schools, corporate offices, banks, sports facilities, churches, shopping centers, hotels, and safari camps in remote areas. Because cardiac arrest doesn't care where you are. Here's the big question. Is your environment ready to save a life? We will help you design a plan that fits your space, train all your staff, and install AEDs around your institution. If you're a corporate leader, a school leader, this is something you can take a lead on. Lives are not only saved by ambulances and hospitals, they can be saved by ordinary people who are prepared. And this is what SAP is all about.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. That is how you find us on LinkedIn, on TikTok, as well as on YouTube. But on Facebook, you just simply find us by typing MHF podcast. We would appreciate a like. We would love a share, and we would very, very much enjoy it if you were to subscribe. Please go ahead and do just that. Now, Mmaotho, let's continue our conversation. There are some issues that we brought up. I think one of them had to do with the issue of sex and our children. I want us to touch on that. And that of step parenting, right? But before we do, let's look at our family structures. Traditionally, we have an extended family, Botswana, and it automatically applies. There is that uncle who would then be a mentor. There is an auntie who would then be, a confidant. Those children would have access to those people. But currently, that is not the situation. And in fact, a lot of families are single parent families. So let's start touching base just on that to say, what are some of the families looking like? What are some of the single parent families bringing to the table?
Yeah. Parenting, like I've said, is difficult. Where we are right now, the majority of families are headed by women, single parent families, and basically meaning that women are the ones on whose shoulders the society is. So we carry the society. But it's difficult to raise kids because the way God intended it, He intended for kids to be raised by two people, a mom and a dad. But then you find that men just abdicate that responsibility. And men can go and have a whole lot of kids out there and not take care of them. They are raised by a woman. And that gap itself creates a problem. Daddy issues. Daddy issues are real. I remember one day I wrote on my page to say, I don't know how when a man can abdicate his responsibility of raising his own daughter causing the child to have daddy issues. Now the daddy issues are used against. So when a woman is angry, people would say she has daddy issues. Why should daddy issues be used to ridicule a woman when actually daddy issues are a result of a man who abdicated his responsibility and ran faster than Bolt, faster than Litsile, away from his responsibility, you know. So these are the problems that we're having. We're having, and I said this that sometime, that we have broken parents raising broken children. Like a woman that was not raised by a man, raising children without a man. So the absent father syndrome is the main problem in the family. And, you know, it's not only about providing emotional support. It's also about, you know, providing financially. You know, we literally, you know, women are having it difficult, such that some women are even having to prostitute themselves to raise. Some women have to sleep with other men to raise other men's children. That is what is happening in this country. But it's okay. You know, the society is okay. Even this maintenance that when you look at what men are charged there, it's an insult. It's an insult. Children go to kindergarten. Just those ones before we get to teens, they eat, they have mopako, they have uniform, they have, you know, everything. And then you go, then they tell you the men should pay 200 pula. It's an insult. So even the laws themselves are making it hard for the single mothers to raise children. So the woman will be stressed financially, will be stressed emotionally, will be stressed even physically. And that makes it hard to parent, right? Okay, yeah, am I saying that women, single mothers cannot raise responsible kids? I'm not saying that, but I am saying that, yo, kunzima.
But let me ask you this, because unfortunately, a lot of the time when we talk, especially on the issue of single mothers, there's a lot of finger pointing, right? And I often try to think, let's all of us take responsibility, right? So I wonder, in terms of that, how much homework, how much research, how much, I don't know, commitment should a woman be looking for from a man before she tries to be or thinks about having children with him? Is that not something that perhaps going forward we need to be saying, you know what, as a woman, really stop and think hard about this. Do your homework, because that sweet tongue, the minute anything happens, it disappears and you're left, you know, having a child, a whole life to raise.
Yes and no. Yes, because women have to choose men right. But I'll tell you, you know, you're not going to meet a man written, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
You're not going to meet a man saying, you know what, I'm not the kind that's ready to take care of my children. The man is going to be there doing everything. Actually, when you read on Facebook the post, a woman will say, we're doing this, it was okay until I fell pregnant, right? So it's kind of dicey, if you like. But at the same time, I often ask myself, why should the woman bear the brunt of choosing a man when a man can choose himself and decide to be responsible? Because it's like we're saying that women should now be responsible of the men's bad behavior. These guys misbehave. Any man who moves and leaves his child misbehave. So they need to know that they misbehave. And we're not going to shoulder that responsibility because, hey, we're here raising your kids. Okay? Men must know that it's scary. It's scary. I'm a teen mom. Your pregnancy is scary. It's scary. I've been pregnant thrice. My third child died, but both 3 times pregnancy is scary. So you're pregnant, you're scared. You have children, you don't even know how they are going to turn up. You wake up in the morning, you cook for them, you do their homeworks, you're alone. And somebody's out there gallivanting. And society says it's okay. And then society can say, you know, how do we we choose men. I say that because even women who do men bad, people would say, right? But then, you as a woman, why would you do the man bad? So we all need to take responsibility of our actions, right? Men need to know that when you sire a child, the moment you have unprotected sex. I recall I said to my son, I set them down when they were 15. I told them, and I'm going to say this in Setswana, Lebogang, rejoice. Yo o tla imisa ngonyana la bona gore ke le godisa ke lenosi yo tla imisa ngonyana ha o imisa ngonyana bo itse rena ra go mma go ngwana la go mapa le moja. And I said that every day. My firstborn is 33 gana one. My youngest son had a child at 29, and it took him until the girlfriend alle 7 months for him to tell me, because he says, Mama, every time when I come to you and tell you, you're going to say to me, you understand? So what am I saying? That, we need to be talking to our kids to say about this. And right now, I'm ensuring that my son is a present father. He's unemployed. I help him raise the child. But the child comes, he's there. Okay? There was a time when the child was on diapers and before the child could know how to take himself. That is your child. Take responsibility. That is your child. He sleeps with the child. He does everything. You understand? He has to know that that is his child. He is my child. This one comes from his loins. He is my grandchild. I help the child in any way that I can. I love him. But then I am not going to have a deadbeat dad. No.
I love that. So in a way, that responsibility we're talking about, that's how, another way that women can, to make sure that if your child, if your brother, your sister,
yes,
your sister's husband is having a child, make sure that that child is taken care of.
Yeah.
Because I always look at that to say, okay, so this man decided to leave this woman and go and have a child. But I get this new wife must know somebody you know what I mean? So make sure that those children are also taken care of.
And here is the thing, Cathy. When we were young, mothers, I think that's the one thing that made me become the kind of grandmother I am. Mothers enabled their sons. I say to my generation of mothers that we are not going to be those kind of mothers who are going to leave their children and let them be broadcasting seeds all over the place and leaving their children suffer. Our grandchildren are not going to suffer. So that is also a call for us mothers to say, we don't have money. I don't have money, but I am not going to have somebody else's daughter, suffering because my son gave him a son. There was a time I wanted to go with my political party to Mau. The mother called me and said, she plays soccer. She said, Mmaotho, I have a tournament. Coming. I'm bringing the baby. So I had to go and tell my comrades that I'm not going to Maun. I'll be babysitting. And I babysat because Lene, she has a life. She needs to live her life. So what am I saying? I'm saying my generation of mothers needs to be different. We're not going to raise perfect children, but we need to ensure that as far as being present is concerned, our grandchildren are not going to be victims of the absent father syndrome. We can just cut the chain.
Speaking to the absent father syndrome, I wonder if you can just give me your take on men who want to be there in their children's lives, and then you have, and I've seen this happen once or twice, where when the husband or the baby daddy, let's call him that, and then you're like, I'm not going to give you access, right? And the Child Protection Act, Botswana, literally says that a woman who denies her baby daddy access to the child is liable to a fine or jail time. And yet, I have seen so many men broken by the fact that they are unable to access their children. Speak to me about that.
The issue here is, for the most part, men would say, I don't want to send my child's mother to prison. That is what. And it would be just a peaceful man wanting access. But I'll tell you what, that happens. Like when you feel that you should come as a package with the child. You want the man. The man has moved on, but you still want him, and you want to bring yourself along, take yourself along with the child. That is wrong on all levels, and we need to speak to that. And that brings us to the issue of mother wounds, which we're going to talk about later, because many kids are wounded because of that. Many kids are denied access to their dad by selfish mothers who want to take themselves along, who want to spite their fathers, who give them away, you'll be shocked. There are hundreds of thousands of kids in this country that don't know their dads. Their mother, and they don't, it's not because the father would know, but their mothers choose not to tell them. Because sometimes a man finds you with a child, and then you just tell the child that this is your dad, but then you don't know that their child has a bloodline that's calling for him. And when the child gets messed up, we are Africans, Cathy.
Yeah, you need to know who your
our
father
blood
is.
talks, right? We're Africans, so your child has a bloodline, and let the child go. Nakari, let the child go to the father. If the father is a deadbeat, and I'm going to say that in Setswana,
let them discover for themselves.
Let them discover for themselves. Don't be the one saying your father is like this and this and this and this. Because I'll tell you what, if that man is as useless as you know he is going to show his child his uselessness. So why should you deny the child the opportunity? Because the child will experience the uselessness. He will come back. They'll go for therapy. But rather than going through life not knowing,
and then turning on you as the mother, and then feeling,
who is my dad?
Exactly.
I was telling somebody that I've got 2 kids. Everybody knows their bloodline. Different men. I know people are going to laugh at me for this. Different men. Everybody knows their bloodline. Now I am not going to answer the who is my dad question. That's a very, very painful question. I've talked to women who have said, and then the child comes in and say, who's my dad? A child is asking you, who's my dad? A 30-something-year-old child asks you, who's my dad? You had an opportunity to tell them when they were young. And the next thing you say, the child is insulting you. Why didn't you tell them?
This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Mmaotho is bringing the fire on this episode. We're talking parenting. We'll be right back.
Life comes with surprises. Some good, some not so much.
But whatever happens, you can face it head on.
Assure Wealth gives you more than just insurance. We give you protection for every part of your life, your home, your car, even your travel.
We help businesses stay resilient with commercial covers from theft, fire, public liability, and group covers.
Got a team? We've got you covered too. Life cover, disability, funeral schemes, even income continuation.
Our type of funeral plan is just one way to ensure dignity and peace of mind.
Need cover for travel?
Done.
Aviation, agriculture, even political riots.
We've got you.
Professional indemnity?
Of course.
At Assure Wealth, we are not just brokers, we are your insurance partners for life.
Insurance that protects what matters. Insurance done right.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. And time is just never on my side. Let's get straight back into our conversation. Mmaotho, you touched a little bit on the mother wound and a little bit on even step parenting in our, when we started the conversation, to say a lot of instances, there's a lot of abuse that happens in step parent families. We know a lot of the time it's like, if you're a stepchild, you're just not as loved as the real children. But we want to believe that shouldn't be the norm, and it wasn't always the norm. We want to believe. Talk to me about what's happening right now and what we can do to make sure that, because blended families are becoming more and more a thing, what can we do to make them more palatable, if I can put it that way?
It's just an issue of love. Parenting is an act of love, really. If you are a loving person, if you love people, there's no way you're not gonna love your men's children. I've said to my friends that, I don't know, look, I love this man. And this man comes from the very thing that I love about him. The child, right? This child comes from the very thing that I love about the man. So why shouldn't I not love the child? And my friend have said to me, Mmaotho, you're deep, but really, how do you not love a child that comes from your man's loins? So the issue here is just love, and in Sengwato they say, Motho yo ga nna sente. So it's only people baba sa nnang sente who would not love children and discriminate against them, to say, this is not my child. This child cannot have things that my kids have. And I know I'd make a good stepmom. So men out there, you can check me out. I know I'd make a good stepmom because at age 25, I started taking in the first broken child. I removed kids in my entire career as a teacher, I was removing kids from messed up families. And, you would come in and you would not even know that this child is not this woman's child. It's very, very good. Loving a child is the easiest thing you can do. Actually, loving a human being is the easiest thing you can do. So the issue is just that people don't have love. And this now messes up step families, blended families. I chose not to bring men close to my kids, to even not get married, because I didn't want my kids. I didn't want to have the Mmaotho conversation. Really, your child has done this, your child has done this. I didn't want to have that conversation with anybody about my kids, because, kids grow up and they become things that you don't want, right? I have a firstborn who is a problem child, and I didn't even want a man, blaming my child's behavior on me, right? And that is just the problem. When you come in and say, I love you, I want to marry you, I am adopting the child. Be intentional about it. If you cannot adopt the child, don't. Just don't. But don't adopt the child and then turn around and, humiliate them and abuse them, rape them, because we see that in families. I know of kids, of kids that have been raped, even boys been raped in step families, been raped by their mom, by their stepmoms, been raped by their stepdad. Girls similarly, being beaten, being denied access to stuff, to niceties, being left behind when the mother or the dad takes the others for shopping, So if you don't want a child, don't get involved with a woman or a man who has a child. Very easy.
Yeah. I almost wish there was a punishment or some sort of consequence for people that marry, somebody, but then don't accept the child, because that is often how the abuse comes in those instances. But let's move on to something that I think you touched base on when we began our conversation. to say sex is often such a taboo in our culture. We don't speak to our children about sex at home. And then what do? They go to their friends, they go to their peers. And so they learn all sorts of what you hope they don't learn about this very, very important topic. What is it that is happening and what should be happening instead? How do we fix a lot of what we think are the ills on the ground?
The problem with, I'll talk about my generation of mothers. Our parents told us to run away from boys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is not sex talk. Little now, we have adopted that. We don't talk to our kids about sex. We don't tell our kids that this is sex. So like I said, we need to start having uncomfortable conversations. When you have a child, you need to understand that at a certain age, at standard 6 at the most, you should start introducing the sex topic. You should start introducing the sex topic because that's when they start discovering their body parts. That's when sometimes they even get exposed to that younger through social media. So now with social media, it's even more important for you to talk to them about sex earlier, but then we don't do that. We don't talk to kids about sex. And then when they go out there and fall pregnant at 12, at 15, drop out of school, you get shocked. You didn't talk about that. So we need to also have support structures for mothers. I recall there was a time that I wanted to start a mom's club, and I'm still thinking about it. A mom's club that, where we can be talking to mothers about how to bridge the topic, because I've talked to moms who, actually how I came to think about the Moms Club, I'll just have mothers reaching out that, Mmaotho, I cannot talk to my child about sex. Mmaotho, my child started her menses. I don't know how to do that. My child this and my child that. So I would talk to moms, and then I realized that, we're out there blaming moms, but they are disempowered. They don't even know how to start this conversation because they never had anybody talk to them about that. And I'm talking about women who have degrees, women who are doing well in life, married women, struggling to just talk to their kids. So we also need to have support structures. We need to understand that parenting is difficult, and we need to rise up as a nation and form structures that are going to cushion parents, even men who are raising girl children.
I was about to say, I wish you open it up to men as well.
Yes, men who are raising girl children, because they too are struggling. So we need, as a country, as a nation, as societies, to really stand up and have these structures that can in a way bring the Botswana that we want. We can build skyscrapers. We can grow the economy. We can do everything that we want. We can build big universities. We can have the minimum wage at 4,000. But if the family down there is as broken as it is, if communities are as broken as they are, we're not going to go anywhere. So we need to stop running with things that are up there and go to the ground. Be about, like I would say, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the people. So it has to be about the people. We need to go down there to the people and fix families, fix communities, fix villages, and then fix the country. So each and every one of us has a responsibility, and we can start. You and I can start. She can start. Everybody can start. And it doesn't, we're going to need money to do that. But I'm telling you, if I can, and I was saying to myself the other day that, there's these Ipelegen women in my community. If I can just be going to them during their lunch, and then I sit and talk to them about this and this and that. The next week I go to this other hotel. The next week, then I was saying to Mmaotho, do you know the amount of difference you could make? And we need to start, because I'll tell you what, elsewhere in West Africa, countries are conquering GBV, and you know where they're starting? In communities. They're going down there to communities. They're starting having GBV conversations, empowering mothers, empowering, societies have these women, these women who, when somebody dies, they lend them the chairs, they lend them the tent,
the pillars of society.
Those women, if we can identify each and every one of those women in our society and empower them about these issues that you and I are talking about, the amount of difference we would make? Like in 5 years, in your lifetime, we would see a transformed Botswana.
Yeah.
And we need to start thinking about that. We need to really start thinking about going down there. Because
the grassroots solution.
The grassroots, because we're going to be talking about raising children.
Let me ask you this. I've often thought this to say, shouldn't we start thinking about doing courses for parenting, like Parenting 101? When somebody finds out they're pregnant, they just ensure, in the same way that you sometimes have prenatal exercise classes and breathing exercises and so forth. Wouldn't it be great if we could just start, even if it's online or something, just because, like you said, it's scary. And the thing is, there's no manual for it, right? So just to have some sort of support group or structure to say, and it shouldn't just be for women, for everybody, because men also, there are those who want to be present dads. Wouldn't that be great if we just had a Parenting 101? These are the basics. You must pass through here. And then while we're talking about that, can we talk a little bit about black tax? Because this one is, on one hand, our responsibility to our parents to say, look, you've sacrificed so much, you've done so much, but at some point, you can say, no, this is now too much. Talk to me about that.
That is the black curse.
It's a curse.
Black curse.
But
black
isn't that us loving our parents?
Black tax.
Is that not loving our parents?
There's a difference between supporting parents and black tax.
Yeah.
Black tax is a black curse.
What's the difference?
If the difference is this, I hate parentifying, where you are the firstborn and you are made to, your mom has 10 children and they are all yours, right? Families do that. And then you take long, you build houses, you do everything. And if we had time, I would tell you a story of somebody that I met, a Kenyan man who was a victim of black tax, who flew to Botswana, who came to Botswana broken because of black tax. I'll tell it to you some other time. But here is the issue. You can take, when a child works, right? When a child starts working, they should take care of their parents, right? They should take care of their siblings, right? But then it becomes a problem if you are the one doing the maraka, you are the one paying the badisa, you are the one buying food for your siblings, for your mom, clothing, everybody. What about you? Because it's a form of, it causes mother wounds, father wounds. Okay. And that happens, in most cases, it happens in single parent families. We mothers, because men left with kids, the first child to work is the one that has to now be taking care of everybody. And then you want to be the one who's going to be seen with a new fascinator at every wedding. Every wedding you buy a new fascinator and a new Letese dress, new shoes, new handbag. You want to go everywhere because you want people to know that your child is working, right? You compare yourself with other people who are being supported by their husbands. Meanwhile, you have maybe a son who has to marry. So these boys, they end up, these are the ones who end up being broken. And when they get into relationships, they're bitter. And then they take it out on their
wives.
So black tax has got deeper consequences. And nobody thinks about it. These are conversations that we don't want to have. Because, we owe our parents. They raised us. They housed us in their tummies for 9 months. Then they raised us, fed us, and so we have to pay them. But it's wrong. It's wrong. No child wants us to be born, right? And then the other thing is, what the funny thing is, that okay, you can have the firstborns usually. If the firstborn, graduates and start working, they're the ones who are going to be taxed. And the ones that come after, Oh, those ones, they just cruise along.
They
They're
have it
cruising on
easy.
live. They're having their parties. They're doing stuff. They don't even come home. So there will be this one that is text. So parents don't text every child. They just pick that one child that I believe they don't love to text them.
You think they don't love the child?
I
That's
know
why
they
they're
don't.
texting them.
I know they don't. Because, you cannot want your child to just be, giving you everything that they have and not have anything. A good parent should want to see their child have something. But if you want your child to give you their all, I'm a victim of black tax. In my book, I've written about black tax. And it's a very, very painful topic. Very painful. Because
so speak to a child who is being black taxed, and you said you're a victim. I want to think you're a survivor because I want to believe you're not doing it anymore. What do you take to stop doing it? How do you identify, you know what, give a laugh, past this, it's abuse?
For me, I think for me it stopped when I lost my job.
Okay, so it wasn't by choice.
It wasn't by choice. I lost my job, and when I lost my job, I then realized that, oh, okay, so I thought these people loved me. They didn't love me.
Because now
get
you
to
didn't
realize
have.
You didn't have, and then you know that you've been a people pleaser.
That respect you used to get, you're not getting it.
You're not getting
place
it.
on the
and then
table.
it's so liberating, because now you know that when God blesses you, and He will, you know when God blesses you, nobody's ever going to use you again.
Yeah.
Because you even and here's the thing. I wrote about just a very, very short post about black text the other time, and a lot of people came and commented, and they said, and I'm going to say this in Setswana, ba re gate ba re ne ba sa re kopa thuso. So when you say to your
parents, I did this for you.
Even to your siblings,
yeah.
They don't want to help you. They forget that you had to. What did you have to forgo?
Yeah.
You had to forgo a whole lot of things. You didn't party. You watched your friends go. Like when I started working, Zimbabwe was like the place. People went to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
I had to wait until I think I was 40 or 42, 43 to go to Zimbabwe. But when I was in my 20s, girls were just going to Zimbabwe just like that. Meanwhile, I was feeding people, I was clothing them, I was just taking care of them.
Yeah.
And now when you're not working, and then you say to people, but don't help me out here. And then people just think that you're just too demanding. And when you were just giving.
Without being asked something.
Without being asked. And they will say, they will tell people that, and they say that. And it's very, very, very painful. And I've said this, that my generation of parents, my generation of mothers should do things differently. My generation of mothers should not be the ones that say to their kids, bring all your money here, because, we need to break the generational curse. Because if you do it to your child might do it to their child, and it will go. And so it has to stop somewhere.
So where does the child stop? Where does the child, or how should the child stop?
Boundaries.
Yeah. How?
Boundaries.
How?
You communicate to people. You communicate to people. You tell people. If you're out there listening to me, and you are a victim of black text, you need to go to those people that are texting you and tell them, look, this is what I want to do with my money. I can help you. Have boundaries. Set them. It's going to be painful. People are going to hate you for that. But if you're not going to have boundaries, you're going to be miserable. And I know that there are people out there who have been black text, and all of you, none of you is happy. So you need to decide to be happy, and you need to draw boundaries.
I love it. I love it. And I think so many other conversations, like such as how boundaries, get set up and drawn. I think I want to end on that note. I know time just never is on our side. Mmaotho, how do people find you? Where can they get a hold of you? Are you speaking anywhere? Are you doing seminars, groups? Are you interested in teaching people about just some parenting 101 tips? Talk to me.
I haven't started talking anywhere.
Are you up for
Yes,
it?
I'm up for it. I've been invited to talk to people. I do honor those invites. I love to talk to people. I love to empower people because I believe that each and every one of us has something that they can give to society. I would be up for it. I would really also love to talk to mothers. If you are a mother, you're struggling, you can reach out. I am a struggling mother. And like I said, I'm a teen mom. I don't even know how I parented my kids. Well, fortunately, I had my grandmother. So I am not an expert at parenting. So, but in the years that I have been parenting, I've met parents that struggle. I've seen kids that struggle. So I know what is parenting and what isn't parenting, even though we haven't really talked about the different types of parenting. We haven't even done the subject justice, so to speak. So we need to have those platforms where we can really just sit, one day, and people just come and we drink coffee as women with our picnic baskets, with our picnic mats. We just relax and we talk about how do we just get unstuck out of this parenting thing, because a lot of us are stuck. Yeah.
I love it. So where can we find you on the socials? Where are you? Do you have a blog? Where do we
Yes,
find you?
I have a page, Mmaotho Segotso. That's my page. That's where I have conversations.
On Facebook?
Yes, I'm a very loud person. So if you're going to follow me, you need to be prepared to meet an extremely loud person and extremely controversial.
Come with a thick skin.
Yeah, I'm extremely controversial. But there is where I engage with people. And right now, I'm on what I've been talking about since IT died. I'm on the issue of drugs and just bad friends, and just how we can assist addicts, how we can support them, how can we move out of the rut. Just that's the conversation that I've been having right now. But I always have a whole lot of conversations, and I think that parenting is a conversation that we need to have. And on the issue of drugs, Hella, just taking advantage of your platform, parents out there, there's this new culture of vaping.
Hush.
Vaping is killing kids as young as 7, 8, 9. And you're not going to know because they're flavored. So your child is going to come smelling strawberries and you're not going to know that they're smoking, So we need to be vigilant. You need to check your kids. And these things, they come in packaged in a way that they look like pens. So the kids would just throw them in their pencil case. I bet you check your child's pencil case and you see that thing and you don't even know what it is. So that's another thing that we need to fight, because vaping is a gateway drug.
You know what? We definitely need to have another conversation, but I will engage you. I am on Gabs FM every Sunday from 6 to 9, so be sure to catch me speaking with Mmaotho on one of the shows there. But otherwise, this is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. We're here every single Wednesday, and we do hope to catch you next week.